But many opposition politicians, journalists in Gambia, students, they've been arrested. Some of them just vanished, and some of them they are still in prison. Why why aren't you in prison? Many
Well,
worry about.
you
You
know,
have been and you're out, but you're still out, and you still can travel back home. Many can't. Many are in prison.
that is true.
Mm.
The Gambia is a dictatorship. It's a police state.
Mm.
The rule of law, independence of the judiciary, strong institutions, these are absent.
Mm.
You have a one-man government, you have a one-man security establishment,
Mm.
you have a one-man judiciary, you have a one-man parliament. When I say one man, I mean this is one person who detects everything in the country. He
Right.
owns everything from the air right down to the ground we walk on. He takes everything. He owns our homes, he owns our lives, he owns everything.
Mm.
He is practically taking over our entire life. The Gambia has become, a nation of an open prison.
Mm.
Everybody in the Gambia is a prison inmate. This is the kind of atmosphere we live in. We cannot talk, we cannot speak,
Mm.
because we have one man who, effectively, we don't know where he comes from, how he drops into us,
Mm.
but is the worst nightmare, one of the worst nightmare in the history of African politics.
Mm.
So I have experienced a lot of difficulties with the system.
Mm.
I have been arrested several times. I have been in and out of police and NIA custody.
Mm.
I have been tortured, like I indicated, and I have been in jail. So I am getting my fair share of it, and I look forward to more of it.
Mm.
So there is no guarantee to say that I may not be picked up again when I return home,
Mm.
and there is no guarantee to say that I may not be in prison without trial.
Mm.
In fact, there is no guarantee to say that I will speak to you again
Mm.
when I return home, because there is a likelihood that I could even be killed. These are very stark realities of our politics. You know, we don't discount anything out. I'm alive today. I could return home. I could be dead, and these are challenges we know. These are elements that are there. We are aware of them, but they do not discourage us. They do not prevent us from working hard to liberate our country.
Mm.
So what I experience is what almost every Gambian in the country experience.
Mm.
Even those who are close to the system, they are all victims. We are all, psychiatric patients in my country.
Mm. You know, the problem you are facing in your country is not so much different with many African countries, so we speak. But I mean, different level. We Africans, we grew up in a way of thinking or experiencing undemocratic value from our childhood to our parents and all. Do you think yourself personally? Don't you think this will take another generation to clear this mess up, or we can be democratic in my generation, your generation?
Yes, I am an optimist, but
Mm.
also a realist. The circumstances you describe are very real. I quite agree with you. These are serious challenges.
Mm.
But I believe that, yes, we can achieve democracy during our lifetime. I'm not saying the entire continent will be purely democratic,
Mm.
but we have examples that are very hopeful. We have nations that are lighting roads. I can give instance like Botswana.
Mm.
Botswana is a middle income economy. It has a very vibrant democracy. It is not the best, but it is certainly a very encouraging indication that indeed we also in Africa can create the kind of society and communities that will allow tolerance and divergence, and yet we can create economic prosperity for our people.
Mm.
That is what Botswana had achieved. It is an African experience, and it is an African model. I see no reason why others could not. We have again other nations such as Ghana.
Mm.
Ghana had
Yes, definitely.
almost 17 to 19 years of a terrible history.
Mm.
A history of recurrent coup d'etats, of starvation, of economic decadence. But the people of Ghana made a determination that they will get out of that doldrum. They did, and today, Ghana is one of the great hopes of Africa. They are going to have an election on the 20th of this month.
Mm.
Again, we've seen government change from opposition to ruling party to ruling to opposition again. And there is a great amount of freedom of expression in Ghana to the point that it's becoming counterproductive. And so these are not only two examples, but indeed, a few years ago, just barely a decade ago, Africa has been governed by a lot of one-party states. Multi-party democracy was out of it. Even today, you can say that the multi-party democracy are not so genuine as they ought to be. But at least we are getting out of the one-party states, purely one-party state control. And so what we need today is to empower the opposition. What we need is to have internal democracy within political parties. When we exercise internal democracy within political parties themselves, we will be able to give voice, we will be able to expand participation, inclusive participation of all sectors of our societies, and mobilize them rapidly towards level of political consciousness that will enable them, to assert their rights, and change our political landscape. This is what we are moving towards in Africa today. So yes, we can have democracy in our lifetime with all of its challenges and all of its possibilities.
It is possible, as you say, but you see, if you take us, for instance, for political campaigning to your country, I'm sure you're facing a lot of things like sabotage and things like that, and especially in the country where media is not independent. How do you manage to go through that?
Very difficult. Very difficult. You indicated in the Gambia, the media is absolutely controlled by the state. The only time that I had appeared on national television was during the campaign. And even that was severely censored.
The channel that is controlled by the
by the state
ruling party.
And the state does not allow private TV stations to operate. They are denied registration. They are denied license to operate. So we have only one national TV which belongs to the government, effectively controlled by the president. He is his voice and his face that is shown 24 hours around the clock. If the head of the TV station is crazy enough to let me appear on Gambia TV today, he is going to be arrested and taken straight to prison just because he invited me to his station. And we don't have the private press. About 2 months ago, about a month and a half ago, 2 of the private newspapers were stopped from circulating. They were prevented from operating. Just state operatives appeared on their stations, on their offices, and closed them down without a court order. And up to date, they are closed. That's the Independent, or that is the Daily News, and also the Standard newspapers. Previous to that, the Independent newspaper was also closed down. Not only was it closed down, it was firebombed. State agents went in there. They actually bombed the building and burnt down, the printing press, and sent the reporters into exile. And then we also had 2 journalists who were just released from prison custody some 2.5 weeks ago. And so the Gambia has per capita the highest number of journalists, in exile. Highest per capita number of exiled journalists in Africa are from the Gambia. So the press is really a serious challenge. How do we manage? It's difficult. We can't get our voices heard. We don't have the medium to speak. We are not given permits to hold political rallies. So it's tough for us to sell our political programs to the people. This is the state of affairs we live in at the moment today. And opposition party leaders have been arrested and put in jail for holding political rallies against the state.